Undersecretary Michael, can you tell us a little bit about how much does the military currently rely on this AI product, which is called Claude?
Well, we rely on it in a few places, a few different components. The Department of War is 3 million people. You can imagine out of that big population, the people who could access Claude in a classified setting is a small subset of that, but in important places. And what we've done in the last 6 months is try to make AI, not from Claude, but in this case from Google, available broadly to everyone in the department for the basic use cases that you might find in your consumer life.
Americans who don't have any idea what this AI product is or how it could be used by the military, give us some examples of what it is being used for currently.
Yeah, so you can imagine in your own life, you can use AI to research subjects. You could say, okay, well, what my kid's having these symptoms, or I'm planning a trip here. Well, in the military context, there's a lot of logistics that happen in the military. How do I get something from one place to another? How much stuff do I have in either place? What do I need to move efficiently forward? What supplies might I need for a certain mission? How do I take all these different papers that have been written about what I'm going to do and make it in a consistent, summarized document? So we're still at the early stages of using it for military purposes, but it's helping make every part of the Department of War that it's used in just more efficient, and making humans be able to do more with less time.
We've got President Trump, who is keeping his options open for striking Iran. Is it necessary for either current or future operations?
I couldn't talk to that, right? That obviously any operation that the president orders would be, classified. But I will say that the use of any software technology that makes us more efficient and could give us more protection for the warfighter is something we want to use. World War II, people were doing pens and paper and telegram, and now we have email and phone, and then we had software and computers, now we have software in the cloud, now you have AI. So it's an evolution of technology that the military has always had to adopt to do its job better. And so whether it's used in any one particular context, I couldn't say, but you can imagine we're a big enterprise, and big enterprises get a lot of value out of AI.
Are there other AI products that are comparable that could be used in a classified setting that would be as good as Claude?
Absolutely. I think what you see every few months with these ratings of how the different AI systems perform is one quarter, one company's in the lead, and another quarter, some other company's in the lead. So I think ultimately they all converge and become relatively equal. They may have some differences. For example, Google, because they have YouTube and Nest cams, may get the human form and how it moves a little better for robotics. Or XAI that's trained on X, the live Twitter stream, might get more sophisticated about current news and what's happening in the world at any given time. But ultimately, the capabilities of these models, when they get to be smarter and smarter and smarter, kind of converge. And I think our job is to have as many options for the warfighter as possible. So no matter what, we're going to have more than one option on all networks at the Department of War.
The Pentagon has been negotiating with Anthropic for a while now. You've set a deadline for Friday evening for them to present you with a final document with the points that you're asking for. But this is a little bit of a clash with this company right now. You've set a little bit of an ultimatum. How much of this clash with Anthropic has to do with ideology? Is there some concern that perhaps some leaders in this company lean left and are trying to rein in the Trump administration?
I don't know if it's lean left, but there's definitely ideology. And the way I describe that ideology is they're afraid of the power of AI. I think some of these leaders have said it's going to cause 70% unemployment, or we're going to have some robots going, crazy in the world, and all these sort of doomsday scenarios. And what I believe is that it's very powerful technology. It could really do great things in the country. If there's some displacement, we've got to get in front of that as a nation. But the ideology is that what we're trying to do is we're trying to use it for all lawful use cases. As long as it's lawful, we want to treat it like any other technology. When you send an email from Outlook, they don't restrict what you could send in and out. If you send something bad out that's against the policy or against the law, you're culpable. In this case, we want to use the technology for lawful use cases. And if something happens that where that doesn't happen, that's on us. You can't put the rules and the policies of the United States military and the government in the hands of one private company.
For Americans don't know, does the military currently use AI, I guess, autonomous weapons without any human involvement right now?
No.
Okay. What about, does the military use entirely AI planned and executed operations?
No.
Okay.
These things don't happen. I mean, the thing is we're just in our first inning of the kind of ball game, so to speak, on the power of AI. The autonomy bit of it is even harder because you're trying to move physical things using software in time and space. And those things are very early. So what we've offered to all the companies is partner with us. Come in, let us use your stuff, put your engineers right by ours, right by our warfighters, and let's figure out how these things can be used to improve how they fight, to keep them safer, to get battles done faster if there is a conflict, and to do all those things. So we've invited them in, and a lot of them have taken that invitation. I think what you'll see in the coming weeks is more collaboration than you've ever seen with the other AI labs that are out there who are wanting to partner with the Department of War.
So there is some concern that AI can already do mass surveillance of Americans. Are you concerned about AI going out on its own and doing mass surveillance of Americans?
I mean, not from the Department of War standpoint. We stand behind the National Security Act of 1947, the FISA Act. We have our own internal regulations on what we can't do, and we've promised to be lawful on that, and that's our obligation to the American people. I do worry about the fact that how do these AI companies train their models? Well, they collect the data on all of us, all over the internet. So if anyone collected bulk data on Americans, it's the AI companies, not us. And so we will do what we have to do from an intelligence standpoint and a military standpoint lawfully. There's a lot of lawsuits right now against the AI companies for them taking content that maybe they shouldn't have taken. So I think we're on the right side of this and behind American civil liberties and have no intent to do anything outside of the law. And these laws are heavily negotiated by Congress, signed by the president, the balance of civil liberties and law enforcement, and we believe in the democratic system. And sometimes maybe these companies don't.
So if the Pentagon has no interest in doing mass surveillance of Americans or developing autonomous weapons using AI, why not put that exact language in the contract with Anthropic?
Because the mass surveillance of Americans is already defined in the law. So if you say, I'm going to use AI for lawful purposes, then if that's in the law, I'm gonna agree to that and do that, and we have put that in the contract. When it comes to autonomous weapons, we have a whole directive called DoD Directive 3009, 40 pages of what we can do, how we treat humans in the loop, how we do training and testing and evaluation for anything that's autonomous, whether it's a weapon or a surveillance drone or something that goes over to protect, to see what's happening over the ocean and so on. So we have said we'll comply by our directives, our policies, the laws passed by Congress. We have humans in the loop in every aspect when we're even thinking about modeling and simulation on these things. So at some level, you have to trust your military to do the right thing. And if anything, we're the biggest, organization in the world with the most rules of any organization in the world. But we do have to be prepared for the future. We do have to be prepared for what China's doing. We're looking at what's happening in the Ukraine-Russia battlefield with drones and how they're using AI and how they're using jamming technologies and all these things. And we have to make sure we're adapting to that world. So we'll never say that we're not going to be able to defend ourselves in writing to a company, right? Those are policy decisions that have to be made by the American people.
In the final offer that the Pentagon made to Anthropic, was the government willing to make some compromises?
Yeah, I mean, we've told them that we will incorporate. It's very odd to write a contract where you say we agree to follow the law because that's sort of implied in the world, right? But I'd say we will put it in writing that we're specifically acknowledging that these laws exist for the privacy of Americans. We're specifically acknowledging these policies that have been in place for years at the Pentagon regarding autonomous weapons. We specifically agreed to consult with them, to have their parties work with us on these things. We also have to have an AI ethics board congressionally mandated, and I offered to invite them to participate on that. So I think we've made some very good concessions because, frankly, I want all the different opinions around the room. I want to know what the best minds and the best companies are thinking. These are AI champions, American AI champions, and I want nothing more than to work with them if they're willing to work with us.
If this falls apart and they don't agree to license this technology to the Pentagon, what happens next? Could you seize this technology using the DPA, and would that get you everything you need if you have to use the DPA?
We could use a lot of different things, but one thing is for certain, no company is going to take out any software that's being used in this department until we have an alternative. So I'm working on alternatives to make sure we're never in the position that we were left in by the last administration. We have one provider that's primarily used, because it's a very dangerous thing to be single-threaded on any one technology or any one company. So my focus is on getting more in and ensuring that if they do anything to kind of hurt our warfighters, that's not going to be on my watch.
Which company was that we relied on solely?
Anthropic.
Okay. If you end up having to blacklist Anthropic from the supply chain, push them out of the government supply chain altogether, how long would that take? Could you do that very quickly?
I mean, I think, it's a very sensitive area because we don't know how it's being used downstream exactly and who's using it, right? But what we'd be doing in that case is identifying and saying, the way this model works, and I don't know if you know, they say the model has a soul, and they've written their own constitution for their model. It's not the US Constitution, it's Anthropic's constitution, Anthropic's soul. And if that makes decisions that end up in military equipment or military plans, where it has its own biases, its own policy prerogatives, that concerns us because then, well, what happens when we get something that's been Anthropic's been used for and delivered to the warfighter? We can't take a risk that it's being done in some way that's not consistent with our policies, and we're the democratically elected government, not them.
So you do believe that this AI technology, Claude, could be used for the benefit of the military, for the U.S. public in a safe way. And if Americans are still concerned, what do you say to reassure them about this?
I would say that the U.S. military is the most respected institution in this country. It's run by great leaders. We care. You've seen by several operations we've done in the last year how successful we've been. Our military strength is part and parcel with our economic strength, and it's part of American ingenuity and American strength that's sort of lasted for centuries. And what we want to do is ensure that that continues. I do find it somewhat ironic that the big tech companies that were doing censorship and all this stuff are now, trusting the folks who sort of participated in a lot of things that happened over the last 5 years, and them trying to take the other side when they've collected all this data on all of us already is sort of curious to me.
By the end of the day on Friday, do you think that you will have an agreement with Anthropic?
I really hope so. I want our American champions to succeed. I want them to help the military. I want them to be patriotic, because it's good for the country if they do it for us. And I hope they realize that, because we want to support them. President Trump's announced we're going to do deregulation that enables AI companies to thrive. We're trying to export the American AI stack, if you will. We're trying to ensure they have enough power, computer chips. We're doing a lot of things to support these companies. And I hope they do the right thing and want to support us.